Yeah.
But the other one that was a marked problem for me was the mullion on wall 15. I mean, there was
I don't even need to ask which mullion.
Well, it was a disaster, wasn't it? I mean, the repairs that had been done before, there was obviously some serious stresses and strains going on. And the decision...
It was a disaster when we found it.
Well, it seemed to take us a long time to get to a decision.
It did.
And I wonder about that kind of stuff then.
Lots of people had opinions on this. Let's be generous and call these previous phases of repair. So, this is the base of a mullion, the central member of the window. And obviously there are stress cracks, and it hasn't spalled yet, meaning parts of material haven't yet released themselves from the whole stone, but it's going to spall, and it wants to spall. And the previous pointing repairs, we'll call them, have cracked as well. Even in this black and white photograph you can see the hairline cracks. Mm-hmm. So I'll have to say the rest of the stone above this was good.
It was good, it was sound. But it is a mullion, and it is supporting the lintels above. So, but we argued about it and argued about it and argued about it, and there was various. The engineering people wanted us to replace the whole stone, and the architect wanted us just to do grout injections and then one Dutchman. And of course, it was you as our conservator who came up with the final solution, which was, I think, much better for everybody. We created a C-shaped Dutchman that wrapped around the core of the stone that wasn't broken, and put in the one that the architect had prescribed at the end of the sill. So things, I mean, the finished result is just fantastic.
It looks great. Well, there's the interim where we take out all the inappropriate cement repairs.
Right.
And this potential spall survived, this one did not. So the architect did want us to inject that, or that was what he was thinking. But like you say, we basically refaced it by leaving the mass in the centre, so we didn't affect it structurally, because you can't, you'd have to. And
we wrapped that Dutchman around it.
And we wrapped that Dutchman around it. And it looks good, and it's effective.
Well, I think it solves all the problems, doesn't it? Go ahead. Sorry,
so the funny thing is, we had like 6 different opinions on this. And
theoretically, all of them valid.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have argued with the engineer saying throw that stone in the bin and put a new one in. However, in the end, everyone had their say, and we ended up repairing it, and I think it's a solid repair. And we didn't replace the stone in the building, and we did maintain original material.
Well, that's the reason I wanted to bring it up.
Story.
I would think so.
I'd say so. Yeah.
All of the parties talking together to come up with something reasonable.
Yeah.
Instead of one of the parties saying you're going to do this, whether you like it or not.
Okay. So that's a success story then.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny.
Yeah. Exactly.
You might want. I think you might want to take the paper for those. You like these.
This is purely and simply a masonry problem to me. That there are huge stresses at play here. This is the north end of the building, and various things moving back and forward, and the sills have actually split. So where the jamb of the window comes down, instead of the weight being distributed properly onto the wall below, it just splits right through the sill, and the crack carry on right down to the basement, and they're facing sky, and they're wide. They're not just little cracks. They're substantial cracks, and to me, that's a no-brainer. You take the sill out and replace it. And the architects, I mean, this is one of the ones where you side with the architects. You're not necessarily convinced that's a good idea.
No, I'm not. And again, we come back to scaffolding. I'm not, because it's only 20 feet off the ground.
There's that, yeah.
I mean, the first thing is, so you've got, obviously, the sill is the horizontal bit there, and the jambs come up off the sill. If the sill breaks, so it's not solid horizontally, but where the thrust and the weight lands.
Well, you know why I think they broke?
Why's that?
Because they bedded the sill right across, instead of bedding the sill only under the jambs.
Okay.
This wall 15, of course, is probably, it may have been part of the original building, but it may be a case where they didn't know that they shouldn't be bedding the full sill.
So, because it was bedded solidly, it had nowhere to move.
No way to move.
And that's why it cracked.
And when I was trained in Scotland, by the time I reached my 17th birthday, I knew that when you were putting stone sills on a wall that were set-in sills, they weren't slip sills, they were under the jambs. you didn't bed with hard mortar underneath. You bed it in pure lime underneath, so that any stresses and strains would have the line to work with.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that the sill now basically just becomes two further jams, right? Structurally,
Exactly.
Still takes weight,
And it's effectively become a slip sill.
Yeah, it has become a slip sill. So if you're really high up, I mean, what I would do in the UK, I wouldn't even think about it. This would be 30 seconds for me. I'd just say, okay, well, let's point that up. Let's just put pointing mortar in it, or the repair mortar, whatever.
Right.
If it was really high up the building, you know that's going to fail, right? They're pointing, but that's fine because all pointing fails. I know it's skyward, it's going to fail faster, but still. If it's really high up the building and the scaffold's not going to be there for a really long time, then maybe you look at replacing it. But even then, I wouldn't.
But look at the displacement there, David.
But
there's 3/8 of an inch of displacement as well.
Yeah, but if it was really high up and I was the architect, I would let that sill.
But we replaced all the other ones in phase one. Why? Similar situation in phase one.
Yeah,
we replaced everything else.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. So again, I don't know. They I don't know how to put words in their mouth. I'm not saying they regret it now, but maybe they feel they went a little strong and now they're trying to redress the balance.
Right.
And you feel they're going too far.
Well, I would agree. I would agree with you, but sure, because the wall's obviously live. The wall's moving.
But we're fixing everything else around it, and the structural anchor's going everywhere else around it. So for me, if it was high up, I would sheet lead it. I'd feed lead into the top bed joints of the sill, and I would sheet lead it, and then you don't have to worry about it. You're back to spab, daily repair to stave off decay, maintenance, and really,
An ounce of prevention.
yeah. Should there be such a thing as conservation, or is it just maintenance and caretakers and looking after things? Because that's why I got into this. I like old buildings, and I like the opportunity to work with them and look after them.
Right.
And all I'm after professionally is to feel like when I leave a building, it's in better nick than when I got there. You know, that's not much more than that, really.
And it's not going to deteriorate because of anything you've done. Listen, I'm with you on that one. Apart from the fact of the displacement, I mean, it may be that we're going to have to trim the top of that sill to allow for the installation of the new windows. It may be that sill's still moving, and
which then you shouldn't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the people putting the windows in should have as much craft as we have.
Right.
And we can cut it
And
in
have a
shape
little-
or size.
have a little dent around the-
why the hell shouldn't
around
they,
the
you know?
displacement.
And then
Yeah.
we're back. Then we're into craft.
Right.
You know, that to me, that's the main thing for me. Like, there's got to be craft. Whether it's the conservator in charge or the mason in charge, everything's got to be well crafted. You know, and
No, my absolute solution for that would be, if they're not going to replace the thing, let's take the sill out and pin it properly and glue it back in properly.
I don't
Build some strength in that joint.
I don't mind that. That's probably okay. The only thing, if again I'm being devil's advocate here, if I'm the architect, I might say, well, you taking that out, there's a chance we're going to find all these walls are cans of worms, say, and we might end up throwing it in the bin anyway. And I don't think I want to give you that opportunity. So,
Right.
you know, but that's just me. The point relates
Back to the silk, yeah.
just one point. The point relates to the fact that we're not necessarily all working on the same page and on the same team with the same amount of information in front of us. There's obviously a problem here. You've identified it. You said displaced. You mentioned that, I believe, that you said the crack runs all the way to the ground, give or take. So there's an issue with the wall, right? And it's obviously an issue to do with the foundation, with the
Right.
footings, right? The bedrock it's on, or whatever it might be.
It must be the bedrock, because we're right on bedrock,
So-
just right there.
I don't know for a fact, I see people working, I don't know for a fact that they're solving whatever that problem is, because what we're seeing here, we're not really seeing the problem, we're seeing the symptom of the problem.
Right, exactly.
And unless we have the information to tell us that they've solved the problem, if you were to only put a new sill in there,
It'll crack again.
it'd crack again in exactly the same place. So then from a money point of view, to come back to it, I'd say, well, if my consultants have not definitely solved whatever the great problem is that affects the whole wall, then I'm not going to pay for something that I know is going to fail.
Right.
But again, we don't know that. So,
Well, I'm working on the assumption that the problem has been fixed.
Okay.
They are working in that area,
Okay.
and there are some underbuildings going on in that area. So I'm assuming that they'll address whatever that movement problem is while they go.
Right.
Hard to imagine there's movement there anyway, because that literally is a rocky outcrop. The Parliament buildings are sitting
it's
on
all
a rocky
bedrock,
outcrop. Bedrock's only, at that point, bedrock's only a foot and a half, 2 feet under the ground.
so it's likely a problem with the way the wall was constructed.
I would think so.
But- Which brings me to another point, actually. I want to disabuse this notion that the nasty climate here, and it is nasty. My car said -28 this morning. The nasty climate here is so bad for masonry. I don't think it is. I think it's bad for masonry buildings, depending on how well they were constructed.
When they were built,
I don't think it's
Yeah.
bad for Yeah, when they were built. If you build in the
When you're
winter,
building in the winter time,
exactly.
you're
Yeah.
asking for trouble.
I don't think it's bad for the units of masonry.
No,
I
because
see.
it freezes here in December and doesn't
Yeah.
thaw till April.
I see, but I won't name them, but people have told me that you see weather in here on the Parliament buildings that's equivalent to medieval cathedrals. Well, I've worked on 2 or 3, actually I've worked on 4 medieval cathedrals in total, and they're talking absolute claptrap. The individual masonry units here stand up
Much better.
really well, except right down the foundation where
Where
there's
you
all
get
issue with the
salt.
salts.
Yeah.
But coming from a marine climate,
In Northern Europe climate, where
Yeah.
it freezes and thaws 3 times a day.
the stone, like, I'm used to buildings of an equivalent age of this being in way worse condition. So what that also means is, not just me, but the lay person who lives in the same city as me is used to seeing deteriorated Victorian buildings.
Right.
So they're accustomed to it.
I always thought that point of view was bogus because of the fact that it freezes once and then doesn't thaw for months. Yeah, no, this is one that we both agree on, and from my point of view, it's a Waller's issue, and when I say Waller, my term is Mason. Mason was only ever
Just a different class of masonry.
well, yeah. Most I separate mason and stonecutter. Mason for me has always been stonemason, and this idea of brick mason and block mason is all garbage.
So this stone had lost its corner. When I say lost it, it was still with it, but it was no longer attached. I would have been alright with putting the original corner that was
Gluing it back in.
gluing it back in, or even, and I don't mind this, or even setting it some ways a little away from the whole stone and pointing around it. I wouldn't even mind a black paint there, because that's honest repair to me, you know. But I don't even understand what this is. This is a lack of understanding both of the conservation of a building and what craft means. Someone has intervened with this stone. They've mangled it. I don't mean to criticise the mason, you know,
Cut
he
it
was
square.
he was doing what he thought was best, I'm sure. But they've cut it square, so right away you read that square shape as being part and parcel of the overall bond,
The bond, and it's not.
which it's not.
Now, mind you, should interject here. There's not a lot of people that understand that the bond is important.
Right.
A lot of the stuff I see on the websites that, Facebook pages that we belong to, people building stuff with multiple stones against each other with a straight joint, and that's absolutely the worst thing you could possibly do with a stone building, because it creates a fault in the wall. Not only from a structural point of view, but visually, and that to me is visually disgusting.
Oh, it is. It's awful. But a conservator might tell you this was successful because you.
Oh, we know.
retained original material.
We know, because
And
that's what
I
they're
would
saying
say
it
it was
is.
successful if you hadn't messed with it.
Right.
But it's messed with.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is a complete grey area. We both agree that it's awful.
garbage.
I think for slightly different reasons, possibly. I'm kind of pleased that we kept an original stone. I wish to God no one had ever tried to do. I suppose they were thinking of a Dutchman repair, right? But this isn't the kind of stone that you should ever,
No.
ever consider doing that to.
No, you shouldn't touch me in rubble work.
No, it's wrong. It's not what's intended.
No.
So we don't have many fails up there at Parliament Hill, but that's one.
Yep. I'm being told to do stuff that I disagree with. So, and I can't put a sign on every stone I disagree with saying I wanted to replace this, but somebody told me not to. And again, on a more critical situation, if one of the repairs that we've been forced to do, instead of making a new stone, fails, especially from high up, and somebody, for goodness sake, hope it never happens, but if somebody gets injured or killed by a piece of falling masonry, the first person they're going to blame is the mason. They're not going to blame the conservator
actually,
or the architect who told us to replace that with a repair.
So the masons, we believe we own the work because we did it. The architect believes he owns the work because he signs it off, right? So in terms of warranty, the architect believes it belongs to him. You're right, the public's perception of a stone building is that it was built by stonemasons,
Right.
maintained by stonemasons. When they see that scaffold up, they don't think architect, they think stonemason.
No. And if something comes down and somebody gets hurt, the first guy the newspapers are coming to is the stonemason, not the architect.
It's true.
So at that point,
But there we have to add that we never ever leave any repair in the wall that we're not comfortable with.
well, that's
We
why
might
we're-
be uncomfortable aesthetically,
but that's
or
why we
philosophically.
write, that's why we write letters to complain.
Okay.